Sex is the life force energy that runs through us all. Can you use sexual energy for your spiritual evolution? Or perhaps for emotional healing? Is it even possible? Clinical sexologist Dr. Martha Tara Lee will explore all these and more on Eros Evolution on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome. This is Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. This is Dr. Martha Tara Lee of Eros Coaching. And today's show is titled From Sex to Super Consciousness and Turning Ordinary Lovemaking into Sexual Meditation. So, of course, you'll be curious to know, what is sexual meditation? How is sexual meditation different from lovemaking? And how can sexual meditation help us to become enlightened beings? So we are going to have this conversation blending modern psychology, ancient wisdom, and real-life spirituality with Sacred Sexuality Coach Lorae Lauritch. She is a certified sexuality body worker, and she has just to introduce her, she has a lifelong journey with exploring sexuality, spirituality, and the relationship that both have with our bodies, our health, and our connections with the world. That will make her the perfect guest for this show, because this is exactly what we are exploring. She has had early exposure to yoga, metaphysics, supported by studies in sexuality and alternative healing. So she will be able to bring alternative insight of the Western view of sexual interaction and making love. And she maintains this practice on Sacred Sexuality Coaching, which incorporates breathwork, guided visualization, energy and sound healing, sexological body work, and pelvic release work. And she uses laying on of hands to create this healing. She's an advocate of holistic sexuality. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Lorae Lauritch. So thank you so much for coming on. Hi, good. It's morning here. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and it's good afternoon here.
Yeah.
I'm on the West Coast in San Francisco.
Yes. So, today is the second day of the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year. This is the year of the goat for us now. And everyone's talking about the new moon, how we just had the super new moon. Did you know that?
I didn't know it was coming, that it was another super moon this time, but I guess when I hear about supermoons, there's something really special about them, but I'm not really quite sure what the meaning is. And I know new moon times are when we create something. It's this time to plant a seed and then create and use an intention to create and manifest down the road.
Yeah. So that's as much as I know as well. I know very little about that. So tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my path, I think, to where I am now started many years ago. And I was, even as a child, I was interested in, I was reading books on, psychic phenomenon and, ghosts and, witchcraft and ESP and those kinds of things. And in my college years, I started doing hatha yoga, which is the yoga of the body, the health yoga, and also meditation. And I really have to honor my teacher at the time. Her name was Kathleen Hitchcock, who introduced me to these principles of training the mind, understanding the essence of the soul inside of my body and how those two things could be connected. Unfortunately, though, she wasn't involved in tantra yoga. But also at that time in the college years, I was exploring my own personal sexuality, and I was fortunate enough to have access to books. My aunt had a library, and she had like the Cosmopolitan's Woman's Guide to Sex and 101 Things You Wanted to Know About Sex. And There was another one that was really popular at the time on sex. So I started to read. I was like voracious in understanding my body and what I was supposed to be feeling and what was supposed to be happening. So transported to these two things, these two passions of spirituality and sexuality kind of happened on a trip. They crossed when I was in Paris, and I was there for an extended time, almost a year. And I had met a man, and we became involved sexually, and he was my lover, and we had gone away to his little apartment in the country. He worked in the city in Paris, and on weekends people would go, get out of the city to go away and have some respite and relaxation. And one evening after lovemaking, I felt really different, very unusual, and I couldn't really articulate it, but this energy, this feeling just kept kind of like being. It was inside of me, and I was very confused. And I my boyfriend's name, my lover's name was Claude, and I said, Claude, I said, if I died now, I wouldn't need to go anywhere. I feel connected to everything in the universe. And that feeling stayed with me for a couple of days. And on the train going back into the city after our, being with him, I had to write it down. I had to express into words what I was feeling, from that experience. And when I tell this to people, they say, well, what did you do? Did you do these like amazing sexual positions? Did you have this great orgasm? I said, not really. It was just something that just happened. It was like samadhi. It was the sexual samadhi of me feeling in union with everything and the all. So if I can, I'd like to read to you like what the expression of what I felt. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. We'd love to hear it.
Okay. It's very brief, but it may not be poetry of its kind, but it really is this orgasmic moment that I felt. And the words were, I said, my soul sings after we've touched. I am on fire, vibrating, quaking, radiating with your love. And I said, you take me to the source for love, for life, the center of all things. And I am at peace. And that's how I really felt from this experience, this accidental experience of being in union with this man, but it had nothing to do with him, but it was a union with myself and with God.
Mm. And did this sorry.
Yes?
Yeah, please continue.
So it's something I've never felt again.
Oh no, that's what I was going to ask.
But it gave me a taste of the possibility of going there again. But it's like orgasm. I have to honor my other teacher, my tantra teacher, Margot Anand, who I trained in her tradition of skydancing tantra, and she said there's as many orgasms as there are stars in the sky. So again, if we try to reproduce something that happened in the past, we're going to be frustrated and disappointed, as opposed to looking at what is new, what can happen, what is that possibility for pleasure, for this ecstasy, for this bliss, for this connection. And so when I work with clients, or when I am with a partner, that's what I am open to, and that's the intention that I hold, and the space that I help to create for not only myself and my partners, but again for the people that I work with.
This is really beautiful. I appreciate how you're sharing so much of this that moment of time with yourself, and how beautifully written that was for you. Was that really what people consider like a sexual awakening? It's more than
I
that.
don't. It went beyond. It was like the union that I had with him was like the catalyst to take me to somewhere else. So in the sense of my talk today, or what I want to enlighten people about, is that when we're born, we have a biological programming about sex, which is to procreate, right? I call it, it's a hardwired program that drives us. It's like we want to continue ourselves, we want to make, offsprings, and we want our species to continue. But when you get out of that biological process, which can happen through rape, it can happen through unconsciousness, it can happen through pressure for women who are trying to have children, right? There's no love involved. It's like, I want to be a mommy, I want to have children, I want to, take care of another being. That's the first level. When you start to move out of the root chakra and first and second chakras, and I don't know if you need me to explain what chakras are to your audience or not.
Sure, a little bit.
Okay, so in our body, in the Hindu system, we have energy receivers of how we bring in this essence, and the Chinese culture calls it qi or ki, and the Hindu culture calls it prana. So it's this life force, it's this essence of the divine that permeates everything in the universe. So it's God's consciousness in matter. So when we sleep, when we eat good food, when we are in connected lovemaking, we generate this life force, this qi. So we have these areas in the body that correspond to the glands, and that's where the chakras reside.
Fantastic. So more about this when we come back after this break.
Okay.
The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution. This is where sexuality and spirituality meets. I am Dr. Martha Tara Lee, who is a sexuality educator and certified sexologist. I'm based in Singapore, and I am with Lorae Lauritch, who is actually based in San Francisco. How cool is that? She is trained and has certifications in sexological body work. She's a certified tantric counselor, body mind sound technology healer, sky dancing tantra facilitator. She also has training in hypnotherapy and breathwork. She's a member of ASAC, which stands for American Association of Sex Counselors, Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. She's a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. So welcome back, Lorae.
Thanks, Martha.
So you were, you were
yes?
just telling us before the break about the chakra system.
Right, and just the reason I want to briefly touch on that is because, and understanding, just think of the physical parts of the body. The lower part of the body is where our genitals are, our pelvis, our elimination organs, and so those are looked on as lower energy centers. So thinking of, again, going back to the concept of procreation, that's the biology. But when we start to move the energy up through what is called like the sushumna or the chakra channel, we want to transform this energy as it moves up to the heart, where we can, it's no longer pulling us for procreation, but it's this energy for love, for heart expression, for compassion, for joy, for empathy, sympathy, support, nurturing. And then as it moves up again, it can reach the top of our head, which is the crown chakra, which connects us back to God. So how I explain it to my clients is that the sexual energy is like the fuel. It's like the essence to help move you through these centers so that you can break free of this pulling of instinct back to this connection to source or the divine or God. And that's what I help to enlighten my clients about.
Is there any difficulties with people actually moving or pulling this energy up towards the crown chakras?
There can be, because I would say most of the world has some kind of guilt or shame that is actually also physically held in our bodies. So when I'm working with clients, I use Eastern practices to help release these physical as well as psychological and emotional and energetic blockages. So if you'd like, I could take you through a really quick practice.
Oh, yes, we love that.
Okay, so the Western world is starting to explore something called mindfulness practices, which is in the Eastern world, they call it meditation. And sometimes people think of meditation as being closing your eyes and saying a word and being very still. But there was an Indian teacher by the name of Osho, or the Bhagwan Sri Sri Rajneesh, who introduced Tantra to the West. And he understood that the Western mind was very different than the Eastern mind. And so we needed to have a little bit more active, dynamic meditations in order to clear all of our energy so that we could finally sit down and meditate. But if your listeners would just like to go through a simple mindfulness practice, I'd be glad to guide them.
Yes. Yes, please.
So what I'd like to do is invite everybody who's listening. If you're driving, don't do this. Be safe. So you can do this and listen to it after at another time. But if you are sitting at home and listening to our conversation, I'll invite you to close your eyes. And when you do that, you clear the external distractions and just bring your focus and awareness inside of your body. And be curious about what that's like. It could be darkness. It could feel warmth to you. It could have a shape or maybe even a color different than darkness. And then, as you're turning your awareness inside, notice your breath, because we're breathing all of the time. In fact, anywhere from 14 to maybe about 18 or 20,000 times a day. But now we're going to be a little bit more conscious of our breath. It could be flowing through the nose and out through the nose, or flowing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you're following the breath as it comes in, notice how far it goes into the body. And then observe the breath on the release. And then another breath happens. And where is that moving into the body and noticing the effect that's taking place? And I heard a nice little release, a little sound. Because what we're doing is that we're giving the mind something to do. The mind that's in constant chatter, it's quieting. It has an assignment. It's following these directions. And the application of these directions is to the physical, is to the emotional, is to the mental, and to the energetic or spiritual aspects of ourself. And we're also going from a waking state, which is a more active brainwave, into slowing the brain down into maybe an alpha or even theta. And we're switching over into the right hemisphere of our brain, which accesses the pineal gland. And in spirituality, the pineal gland is the pathway or the doorway to higher states of consciousness. So this very act of closing your eyes and following the breath is one of the most simple but most dynamic and profound ways to become present and to change your physical, mental, emotional, and energetic states. And when you're ready, you can kind of move your fingers and toes and let your body kind of shake or stretch and slowly open your eyes to come back to this moment. And you're probably in maybe a calmer place. I don't know. How is that?
That was great. Yeah, it helped me to come back to my body and to breathe, not be so not be so tense about this whole show as well.
So that's usually something that I start off my sessions with, is just to get my clients in their body. And before this, our little engagement, I was on another phone call, and they were talking about, people being walking heads. We're under such pressure and tension and stress these days that it's really difficult to slow down and to become present. So what I gave your listeners was just a little gift of how to do that. So how to transition with this little exercise into sexual meditation. Well, when you're with your beloved, with your partner, with your lover, breathe into your body and feel that breath. Another way to start to resonate together is to match your breath with your partner's. There's this harmonic resonance taking place. Science tells us that each of us has a unique signature at how we're vibrating. We have a particular frequency that our brain is creating. So when you start to harmonize the breath together, your brain waves are entrained. Entrainment means they start to vibrate or beat at the same level. So it's a way to go beyond the physical and to match your essences. So that's something else I teach in my sessions, which is one of maybe the second step to sexual meditation. So first would be focusing on your breath. Second would be to match your breath to your partner. And then if you want to communicate, I tell my clients, use sounds. Right now we're languaging. Languaging is the left hemisphere of the brain. So it's the logical, it's the learning. But when we make sounds, we're getting over to the right hemisphere, which is more body awareness. We're opening up the ability for the body to feel vibration and sensations and release blockages or contractions, because breath and sound are ways to feel. So that's maybe the third step to starting being engaged in sexual meditation. Any
Great.
questions on that?
No, what's the fourth?
Okay. So the fourth thing would be something called doing the root lock, or in yoga it's called the Mula Bandha. In the Western world, it's referred to as Kegel exercises. And how I explain it to clients is that it's like a fuel injection, but here we're increasing circulation into the pelvis. So remember I talked about the sexual energy was like this fuel to help raise our consciousness, raise our energy, and to help propel us into the heart center and into the crown chakra, which is for connecting us to the divine. So by doing Kegels, which is contractions of the pelvic floor muscles, the short term for them would be the PC. The Latin term is pubococcygeal muscles. You think of squeezing the glutes a little bit and the sphincter muscles. What that does is it traps energy in your sex center. And in yoga, it's called a bandha. So it's building this energy in the pelvis. And then when you relax a contraction, it moves energy up through this chakra channel that I talked about, these other non-physical energy receivers. But also what we're doing is that we're increasing circulation and toning your sex muscles or your love muscles. So those will help you have greater orgasms, and for men, greater orgasms and ejaculations. How fantastic is that?
Yeah, that's really great. Awesome. So what you're saying is first we can do sexual meditation with breath, matching our breath with our partners, incorporating sound, and then activating our root muscles or our PC muscles, Kegels. When we come back, there'll be more with Lorae Lauritch.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Welcome back to Eros Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meets. We have today with us Lorae Lauritch. You are listening to Eros Evolution on OMTimes Radio Network. You can share this show with your friends right now by sending to them this link, OMTimes with an s.com/mobile. That's all you need. omtimes.com/mobile. This is basically our mobile player that is so advanced, it doesn't need an app. You only need the link in order to listen to that. How cool is that? Your friends will love being able to listen to this radio show without needing to have any downloads. Before the break, we were talking about how one can begin to do sexual meditation by yourself, and this would include include coming back to your breath, matching your breath with your partner's, incorporating sound so as to open up your body, vibrations, sensations, and then also activating your PC muscles, or what we know as Kegels. We have with us Lorae Lauritch, and actually she has a great website which you may wish to check out. It's called femininewisdom.com. So femininewisdom.com is her website. She has a lot of qualifications and training, but one thing that I wish to highlight about her is that she actually, because of her studies and experiences, is able to relay complicated and uncomfortable information easily to her clients. She does a lot of work with her clients face to face and also via Skype. So you definitely want to check out Lorae's website. So welcome back, Lorae.
Thanks, Martha.
Yeah. So maybe you can tell us what else someone can do besides doing these 4 practices.
Mm-hmm. So in Tantra, the practices can get very complex, but I'm a aficionado of the KISS principle, which is keep it simple, sweetie. And so and how I explain it to my a lot of my clients are men who come to me and they're really looking to change their sexuality again out of this like base primal level into evolving more love in their relationship, and again exploring this possibility of connecting with the divine. So how I relate that these 4 steps are kind of like the game of baseball, American baseball. There's a batter, there's a pitcher, there's someone trying to catch the ball, and then there's running involved in the game. So people see hundreds if not thousands of baseball games throughout their lifetime, and things don't have to be very complex, and I really like keeping things simple. So these are things I use in my lovemaking and that I also incorporate into my practice. So another piece that is that we can add to this, which is again the breathing, the sounds, the root lock and movement of the body, is this consciousness. It's like the mind can change the tempo of the breath. The mind can direct the feelings and sensations. It can go in and analyze what's taking place. Is there buzzes? Are there vibrations? Exploring deeper. Notice where you're numb, where there is nothing taking place. And can you allow the possibility for sensation to be there? What are you noticing about your partner? And this is where another tantric practice, which is called a microcosmic practice, comes in. So this I have to attribute to learning from a tantra master by the name of Daniel Odier. And he wrote a book called Desire, Tantric Path to Awakening. And in one of the workshops, he told everyone to go out and make love to the world. And everyone was kind of confused and thinking, well, do we have to have sex with everybody? And he said, no, you use the world as your lover, as your beloved. He says, every day you do the simple practice. And we were like hanging on the edge of our seat. Well, what is it? Because we like, simplicity. We don't want to do anything hard. So he said, you tune into each of the 5 senses. So they are, you're smelling something, you're tasting something, you're hearing something, you're feeling something, and you're smelling something. And you break these little these sensation sensory awareness practices, you space them out throughout the day, and you engage with them for very brief moments of time, 15, 20, 30 seconds. And this is a way that you start to train your mind, because what you're doing for those 15, 20, 25, or 30 seconds is that you are in this brief state of awareness or meditation. So let's say you get up in the morning and you step into the shower and it's too hot, and you go, I got to turn on some cold water, and you feel that, and then you drop it and you go on to the rest of your day. when it's lunchtime and you go to your favorite eating place and you're tasting the food, it's like, this is so wonderful. It's like my palate is just oozing with flavors. And then maybe another time you're hearing something like screeching of fire engines or police sirens or something. It's like, oh, you have to cover your ears. This is how you start to be present in the world. And because you're engaging with the world, you can bring these practices into the bedroom. Your lover, your partner becomes your world. So if you're with your beloved, it's like, I'm going to taste his lips. I'm going to feel his skin. I'm going to look at the shapes and the curves of his body. I'm going to smell his scent. I'm going to hear his moans. And that takes you into this state of meditation. You're not thinking about work. You're not thinking about a goal that you have to have an orgasm or you have to make him come or you have to hold back. You're in the moment. You're in the now. And you allow for this unfolding of connection and energy and pleasure between both of you. So if each person is doing this to each other, you start to create that union, and that goes beyond the physical into something that's more spiritual or energetic. And then from there, with the breathing, is how you increase this connection. The breath is a way to build the life force, to bring this energy up and moving through your body so that it no longer is moving within yourself, but it becomes like a cycle. It's a circle. It's a circuit running between your body and his body. And then from there, it can reach into these higher states where you're in this meditation. And then what happened to me is where I kind of felt like I was one with the universe at one point, one time in my life. But like I said, it's a place to aspire to, but it's not something we try to make happen.
Yeah. It's about, like you said, trying, but yet at the same time be detached with the results. It's like wanting to have an orgasm, but not really forcing yourself to have one, because that's not going to make it happen either.
Right. So I like to use the word allowing. Allowing things to come up, opening up, surrendering. So these are all yin concepts, as opposed to what has taken place in the Western world of the yang, or is the correct term yang or yang?
Yeah,
Americans.
Correct. Yin yang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yang. So the yang is action, it's intellect, it's movement, it's force, it's energy. And that can go to its extreme, which is showing up again in the Western world of destruction and violence and anger, as opposed to bringing in the yin, which is those qualities I just talked about: openness, curiosity, surrender, receptivity, allowing, nurturing, union, support. And in yoga, they talk about that we have both of these polarities within us. So again, the Asian cultures understood these polarities, and the symbol of the yin and yang shows that specifically, and that there's that seed of the other in each. So once it gets to the extreme, it'll flip into its counter. So as human beings, it doesn't matter what sex you are or who you're having sex with, you're engaged as a spirit being in a human form in order to experience another, and as a reflection of the divine that you're being partnered with. And they see the divine within you.
Can you explain a little bit more? Because I hear this all the time. People say a divine sexuality, divine consciousness, divine what exactly does divine mean? Does it mean the same thing as God?
Some people don't believe in God, and from my understanding, the Buddhists don't believe that there's a divine. They think that there's nirvana. It's just this space of oneness. So, as I explained earlier, that our physical, biological programming is to populate, procreate.
Yeah.
And by using these elements that I talked about, which is breath and sound and movement and consciousness, that energy starts to transform. So think of it as like notes on a scale. Most people's lovemaking is like the note do, 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 do. And if all of our music was just do, it would be very boring music. But you have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? You have different tones. So think of that, the tones is like the chakras. So when it changes into the next note, it's a different frequency. So what we're doing with our lovemaking is like changing out of that tone of do into another tone. So the heart of do, re, mi, fa, so. It may be so is the heart, la, ti, do is the high do. I guess it's an octave. I'm not really a music person, but there's a difference between the high do and the low do. So there's a frequency shift. So that's what is taking place in sacred sexuality or sexual meditation or sacred lovemaking, is that you're changing the frequency of the experience out of that biological energy into something that's higher, that's more evolved. And again, source, if you want to say source or God or the divine or higher consciousness, is vibrating at a very high frequency.
Thank you so much. I love what you're saying, because now it totally makes sense how people who meditate, they can bring that into the bedroom and then it becomes sexual meditation. After this break, we'll have more of Lorae Lauritch.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
This is Arrow's Evolution, where sexuality and spirituality meet, and this is Martha once again. I have with me Lorae Lauritch. She is a certified sexological body worker, certified tantra counselor, and she's an advocate of holistic sexuality. As such an advocate, what she does is she conducts private sessions for individuals and couples. She conducts workshops. She does public speaking and media events on tantra, sacred sexuality education. She has for us a very special offer for all listeners out there. She is offering to all listeners, if you contact her through her website, Feminine Wisdom, 20-minute consultation or 20% off her fees, whether it's for a session or a package. All you need to do is mention the code word sexual meditation. So mention sexual meditation and you'll get her offer. Or if you're not sure, just email her and ask her what's her offer. It's 20 minutes consultation and 20% off her usual fees, whether it's for a session or a package. She does do Skype sessions for people who can't travel or people who don't have access to sexological body work, sexual coaching. She does do that. So Lorae Lauritch, besides being based in San Francisco, she does travel to various cities in US, such as New York and LA and Boston. As for myself, because this month is February, I have this campaign called Fabulove. So I'd like you to download have access to my 7 email lessons. And it is at Arrows Coaching /Fabulove, FEBULOVE. So February, Fabulove. And you can get the free 7 lessons from me as well. So Lorae, I really appreciate all the things that you have shared with us today about sexual meditation and what it means to transform energy and move that up our different chakras. And you also gave us very practical sharings of how we can do that. Besides being mindful, coming back to our breath, there's also sound and kegels, and how all this is meditation. Life is meditation, so why not bring it into the bedroom? So besides all the things that we talked about today, I just want to ask you a little bit about what's really very current right now, which is 50 Shades of Grey. You know, this movie came out on Valentine's Day, and maybe that contributed to their box office sales. What do you actually feel or think about 50 Shades of Grey?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I haven't read the books and I haven't seen the movie yet. I do want to see the movie. But what I have been reading about it from other contributors and commentators is that the director of the movie wanted to have it a little bit more authentic to the world of BDSM. And what I've heard, the controversy about the movie is that some people are objecting because they feel that it's about abuse, domestic violence. But what I have understood is that the primary, his name is Gray.
Yeah.
I don't know what he has Anastasia sign a contract and, giving her consent to what is going to take place. And he takes her, he's kind of like leading her through his world. From what I read, he takes her to the shop, his store where he's buying things. Maybe it's a rope or whatever. So she has an idea of what the elements, I'll say, but I don't think she's really clear on how these elements are going to be used yet until she gets into his little playroom, so to speak. Now, there is something that people, I live in, again, San Francisco, so I'll preface that, which does have a large BDSM community. And from what I understand, they play by the rules of safe, sane, and consensual. So consensual, I believe, was covered in the movie. And I don't know about the safe and sane. I believe that she could have, he gave her a safe word. Usually when you're doing a scene, when you're in this engagement, you create a code word so that the Dom, the person who is doing the activity, knows when the sub, the person who's receiving, has had enough. and then it stops. So the sub has the power, the control. Now, there's people in the tantra community who are exploring something they call dark tantra. So they're bringing these elements of their world of kink and domination and power exchange and sensory play into the world of tantra, using these elements of presence, of consciousness and awareness, of using the sounds, of understanding this dynamic energy force that's taking place. So even this alternative sexual practice can have a spiritual element to it, which is something I'm just finding out about. I'm not really in that world, but I do have some associates who are, and so when I talk to them or go to their little they're called munches, little gatherings, I'm hearing more about what is taking place and how they're using this as a means for greater connection. And I guess one thing that the BDSM community has over the normal heteronormative community is that they use communication. It's really important in their activities to express and to lay out a contract for their behavior, which is something that the quote unquote regular world doesn't do.
Yeah, I know.
So you probably experienced that in some of your coaching and in your work. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the thing that I find lacking in many of the relationships and clients that come to see me, is that where's your communication skills? When do you talk? How do you talk to your partner? What do you say to your partner? Do you even say things to your partner? Do you hold back? Why aren't you saying things? And again, part of this is because of our programming. You know, things we're told, we suffer. We're not told to speak up. We don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings, so we endure the pain or the uncomfortableness or things, and it doesn't really help a connection.
Yeah, communication is so important, and lots of us communicate, but we don't really know how to be better at it, especially when it comes to sex. And this is where sexuality educators like yourself and me, we come in and we teach our clients. And I find people in the BDSM community, they are just much more conscious about it, because if they're not careful about it, people can get seriously hurt. And in the movie, they do have the code words, red, yellow, and of course there's green. But I really enjoyed the movie and the book. But I am feeling quite affected because of all these jokes and misconceptions that people have about BDSM and calling it abuse. Some of these reviews are really just downright nasty. There was one review in Singapore that was written by this local reviewer, and he just basically attributed BDSM to and the reaction of the male audience, saying that it's just because their ego cannot take it. Just get over yourself. And I felt that that actually got me really angry, because it's more gender bashing. Like, he's bashing up his own gender, and he's making men really weak, even though that's not necessarily true. Because, you know, when you don't really know something and you're not comfortable with it, you make jokes, you laugh. And he attributed that to them just being, you know, having fragile egos. And so lots of things coming out about 50 Shades, which is, lots of room for discussion. And what I really liked about what you shared is dark tantra, which I didn't really know. So there's red tantra, there's white tantra, and then there's dark tantra.
Right. So I believe it's more of a American or Western tantric path. So again, these are people who have a foundation or a foot in the BDSM world, who are using, but also they're exploring tantra, and they have tantra backgrounds, and they're bringing tantra into their scenes or their practices as a way to connect deeper and to have them have more meaning. It's not about a dom just, whipping somebody arbitrarily. They're very conscious of what they're doing. And again, this playing with the dynamics of power and surrender, and which is these concepts that we talked about earlier, and how to have them be transformative. So someone may be in an altered state of consciousness while they are in I guess it's called a substate. When they're experiencing pain. Again, pain can be a way for endorphins to be released as well.
Yeah, precisely. Fantastic. So I understand that you are one of the expert panelists on this radio show called Intimacy, Tantra, and Relationships on a website called Spiritual Image Productions. Tell us more about the upcoming show.
Okay, so it's a blog talk radio program that's on once a month, and we bring in psychics, and there's a host, and I talk about Tantra, and we like to talk about subject matter of the day. So next Friday at 6:30 or 7 o'clock p.m., we'll be talking about how men are violating women by hacking into their phones and talking about privacy issues. So stealing, sexual pictures of them and then posting them on the internet. And we're curious about what all that is about.
Great. So check out Lorae Lauritz's website, Feminine Wisdom. Next week I have with me Patty Britton, who will give us the 5 keys to a happy sex life. This has been Eros Evolution. Thanks for listening.